listening to Xposed Living, Be Ageless, the podcast where we drop the masks, flip the script, and talk real life, real love, and real leadership unfiltered. I'm Stacey Vanthuyne, coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and founder of the Xposed Living movement that's redefining what it means to live, lead, and grow at any age. We talk identity, reinvention, belief, and freedom from the bedroom to the boardroom. Yes, we go there. This is not about staying young. This is about waking up. So if you're done with the shoulds and craving more fun, more freedom, more truth, more you, then grab your favorite drink, your bestie, maybe your journal. It's time. Let's get exposed.
Welcome back to Xposed Living. Today's conversation is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. My guest, my friend, and I've known each other for over 3 years. We connected online, have yet to meet in person, but this September we're going to make that real. Even though we have yet to meet in person, our paths have been deeply intertwined through entrepreneurship, through motherhood, through reinvention, and choosing to rebuild even when it would have been easier to walk away. Hanne, and Hanne's going to help me with her last name afterwards because we always giggle about it, and I want to make sure we say it right here. But Hanne is one of these women that is so multifaceted. She's an international business leader, an entrepreneur, and a founder working across Europe, Africa, and beyond. But what matters most to me isn't her resume. It's her courage to start again. Her willingness to tell the truth about the cost of growth, and her belief that women don't need to shrink, hustle, or burn out to build something meaningful. This isn't a conversation about titles or achievements. It's about what it really takes to lose everything and choose to rebuild differently. So welcome, my friend, to Xposed Living.
Thank you so much, my dear friend, Stacey. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here with you today and talk about these things, what you mentioned, to rebuilding yourself and as a woman, as a leader, as a mother, and whatever different role we play. And just to share that we can be just amazing who we are. We don't have to put on any title or any achievements on top of us.
Right, you're going to be so incredible. Let's set the stage for people, Hanne. Before we talk about what you've built, let's share for people who you were becoming in the season when things were starting to fall apart for you.
Yes, you're taking me back. I must say that it hasn't been once or twice or 3 times that I've rebuilt myself. It's been multiple times, and I've lost everything once except myself and my daughter. So anything material, companies, money, homes, all that. And that was my biggest rebuilding moment. But when that happened again, not a similar way, I had to do it in a different style and rebuild myself again after that, of having different things going through in my life, in personal relationships and personal life, and also in business life and business relationships. And the resilience and the courage and also the perception of who I am was really, really down on me ever since I was a teenager. And if it wasn't there since those very early years of my life, I would have struggled much more. And if I didn't have my support network, those few people around me, and at one point it was also you, the life would not be the same. I have to say that. And it has taken a lot of courage, but also going very down on my knees to look at my principles, my values, and what do I want in my life, and what do I want to achieve in terms of who I want to become as a person.
If you've never met this, since day one, there was just something with Hanne and I that just connected. So to set the stage, even so, she's in Finland, she's in Helsinki right now. If you don't know where I am, I'm in Edmonton, Canada. It is this part of you, your genuineness and willingness to share and to be vulnerable takes so much courage. And you and I have talked about that before, almost how we were always the people that just kind of packed up and kept moving, going forward, priding ourselves on being strong and resilient and courageous, but never
Mm-hmm.
really appreciating, I don't think until later, so correct me if I'm wrong, how important showing that vulnerability and that other side is to helping to build the types of relationship and help women in the way that you help them today.
Exactly. It is like that. And it has, you mentioned at the very beginning that without the ego, we stand here today. The ego has been a big part of all of our lives at some point. And once you've been taken down by the circumstances outside of you, and once your inner soul has been ruined and it's been in the phase that you either rebuild it or you die, like you would become a shelf, just empty body and just walking around, and that was never my option. So you have to rebuild your soul, you have to rebuild your the the appearance, you have to rebuild your values and shape them, and also your check your principles, that how are you going to go forward in those moments. If you are not sure, it's going to take some time for you to do that, but it's super important. Otherwise, you cannot go forward. And that has been one thing what I've learned along the way, that if my values and principles were not so strong, I would have been lost in relationships. I would have been more lost in my businesses and the jobs and tasks that I've taken. And I would not have been able to go forward and find my path where I am today. Oh my God, I've been around so many different paths and been around with so many different relationships in personal life and business life. And I've gone wrong and way, way, way not so good roads. But there is a lesson and a thought that I heard some years ago, that no matter how far you've gone down the road, you can always come back if you know what to do and how to go forward. And you don't always need to know the how, but you just need to know the direction. And then the things and the people and circumstances will arrive and appear into your face, so to say. And that's what I've had.
Right.
Yeah.
When I hear you say some of those things, I understand your values and your core beliefs, or you said principles. To me, it's like you really had that internal belief about yourself and accepting that. I mean, a lot of people say it, but it's very hard to think sometimes that all of this has brought me to here for a reason. You know, I can either be more committed to the suffering or to putting that vision into place and leveraging the experiences I've had to make me
Yeah.
stronger. Can you share some of those times and those dark nights of how did you get the vision back? And what about the belief in yourself to take that next step forward, even when sometimes you didn't even know where the next meal would come from for you and your
Yeah.
daughter?
Yeah, exactly. I've had to rebuild myself several times. And that's what the life is all about. We have to rebuild ourselves every day, every moment, whatever the circumstance, whatever the situation, whatever the relationship is. We have to be committed to do that every single time. And that's the hardest part, because you think that, like I was thinking that, okay, once I've figured out my routines, my beliefs, my values, my principles, the ways of doing things, and then all of a sudden things change and life happens, and then you are down on your knees and you think, what the heck am I going to do now? Or how am I going to go forward? And are my dreams and visions too big? Or am I belonging into this area or this business or these relationships? Or is there something different to me? And those kind of conversations I've gone through in my head alone many, many times. I've teared myself from the heart and from all the soul inside several times, and put it open out there, and written it down, prayed about it, dreamt about it, asked for help from different people, but very selected number of people. And that has been the key there. And I have written down those things again and again. And that was my path. And that's when I noticed, when I wrote these things down with the help of my mentors that I was seeking, and those people came then eventually, the right people to my path and helping me around. But if I didn't ask for help, I would never gotten here. I would never gotten those relationships that I have in my life. And if I was not able to seek for whatever different kind of help, we would not have been able to meet as well. And rebuilding, those ideas on myself again and again and again. And that's maybe one of my biggest strengths, is to rebuild my life again and start over. And that's part of the entrepreneurship and the leadership as well. Without that, you cannot go forward any day in a startup life or in business life as a leader. But and you have to know that life changes, so you have to rebuild and do that again. But if I didn't go through very deeply, and that was my point, about 3 years ago and 2 years ago, I went more down and more down and more down. I was asking myself several times the same question: what's more there? What's in that? What do I miss? What do I don't understand? Why do I feel this way? Why do I have this emotion? Why do I have these thoughts in my head? And then always I remember, like you said, there's these two, whatever you want to call them, the dogs or the parrots or lions or whatever, or your inner child's, whoever, or your neighbors on your shoulder. And the other one is saying all the negative things, and the other one is saying all the good things about you and your situations. And that's also in the Bible, if people have read that it's all about the ones you feed, and it's all about the ones you pay attention. And I had to choose, which is the key word, I had to choose in every situation, even though that I was down on my knees or I was having the happiest moment of my life, which one do I feed? Which one do I follow? And that has been a very conscious decision and a choice every single time. But how do I came to that? It wasn't always like that. I came down because I went so down on the things that I had learned over 25 years. And I was asking myself then why I don't get the results that I want or the achievements that I want. And the question there was really that I have to go down deep and rebuild again and again. And when I did that, then I was able to do the shift, and it happened in a couple of months.
Such a good learning. Many people are afraid to go to that deep layer. So we keep hoping and wishing for things to change, but never truly doing that deep internal work. Ask yourself a question one time and then write down, think that we have it solved. But I love what you're saying. It's like that 7 layers deep, and it can be scary to unpack.
And it's, I had a guidebook, so to say, there, and several people taught me over the years the same things and the same methods. But there was this one turning point in my life a few years ago when somebody said that, okay, there were a couple of more questions that I had never thought. And when I dived into those, that got me down on a deeper road. And that's how I was able to rebuild myself and my leadership and my friendships and my motherhood. And one of the things that I could share, just to be practical here for others and who are listening, is that you have to write down and think and practice that, the different roles that you have. How do you want to be as a mother or a father or a parent? What kind of person do you want to be as a leader? Whatever role you play in the working life society. What kind of role and what kind of friend do you want to be for your friends? And who do you want to be around it and surrounded by? And what kind of role do you want to have? What kind of leader here and there in these hobbies or whatever circumstance you want to be? You have to go through all of those. And I didn't do that earlier so deeply, and not in every role. I had principles here and there and values here and there and thoughts that, okay, this is this is who I am, this is how I want to be. But what about in that role? How is it coming up in that role, in practical life, in daily life? And when I did that and I wrote each one of those roles down, that helped me to understand that, okay, this is the way that if I want to be that kind of person, this is what it means in practical life, in this situation. And then the same thing for the different role. And that was one of the turning points that I had.
Is it at the time that you were tying a lot of your worth to the results you were getting? And so then when the results weren't what they wanted, it was almost like, I'm not doing a great job. And so, because I think
was beating up myself. Right? Yeah, I was beating up myself because I've always been very, very joyful, very happy person, very energetic, very extrovert, but who also needs their own time. But I may not need it as much as some others. And then I was looking at that. What the heck is happening in my life that I have all these qualities, all these personalities, types and things, but why my results are not always, I had the peak moment several times, but why it's not up there in the certain level of frequency often? Why it's every now and then only there? And that was kind of the understanding point, that what needs to change in me and my routines and work and actions to get there. But oh my God, I've been beating down myself because I'm a very ambitious person. My maybe 70% is someone else's 150%. And I have to be merciful and graceful for myself on that one.
I think that's a common trait with Gen X, especially high achievers, that unless we're going to, right. And if we're not going to hit that, then there must be something wrong with our own selves, never really understanding that there's nothing wrong with ourselves, but the approach or the habit or the belief that we potentially have, there's some opportunity to see it in a different way, right?
Exactly.
I want you to share, because I know you've grown up in Finland, but you've worked and lived in Africa, been across the European continent. What similarities, regardless of where you go, do high achievers that you've met, Gen X's, have? And in your experience has potentially stopped people from achieving more? What have you learned through your entrepreneurship experiences?
There's a lot. Like, how many hours do we have, or how many days?
Maybe your top few, or like what commonalities you find that have surprised you even?
There are a few. You know, I've been living in different countries, and I still live in 3 different countries at the moment. So I travel between 2 continents and 3 countries, plus or anything else that I do. But the surprising thing has been that women who, no matter the role they play, they are same everywhere. They really are. And especially us in this Gen X baby boomer phase, we are the ones who have desire for more, whatever that means to you. When we come to the certain age of being in our midlives, we get to understand that who we are. We are much more stronger in our values, and we know what we don't want to have in our lives anymore. And we women in this age have become much more courageous when we find those like-hearted souls. And we have a tendency at the moment to look for the souls because we ignore these other women in our earlier life paths. And that's wonderful that there are more women who want to do things with you, not just to stab you on the back, but do things with you. They want to collaborate. They want to embrace you as who you are. And that is wonderful. That is something that I didn't know or understand that would exist. But I think it's the time now, for the past 2 years and the years ahead, that we have the space to be who we are and step forward and not hide ourselves anymore. And one thing has been also the thing that we want to give back. We want to help others. whether they are men or women or children, whoever. We want to give back, and we want to help other women who want to go forward, whether that's gardening, whether that's whatever hobbies you have, whether that's your business or whether that's whatever that is your passion. We want to give back and we want to help you. And I never noticed that in my life earlier until becoming into this age. I always felt that there were people the other women were just, they were fighting against me, and I never understood why. But there was too much ego in that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You bring up a point that I've never thought of really until now, is that maybe a lot of Gen Xers, we were built with this competitive nature, but it was always against somebody else outside of us, not recognizing the only person that we have to be competitive against is our own selves. But as we mature and get more comfortable with us, start caring less about what you're doing over there, more about myself, aligning ourselves with women with common interests, then we see how much stronger we are together versus competing against each other.
Exactly. And that's what I've noticed, that in the early years, women were competing against each others because they thought that I cannot be who I am, so I have to build this ego around me, and I have to fight against other women, that they would be my competitors. But now they understand that we are actually much more stronger, and I'm much more stronger of who I am when I have the courage to be me, and then I can help others. And I'm not, like you said, I'm not competing with you, but we can actually collaborate and be much stronger together and individually. And that I find so fascinating and so strong. And that goes across cultures, across industries. And that's one of my superpowers always, that I have been able to interact with different people that way, no matter of the gender or the age or the industry. And I find now, today, these moments, these years that we are living at the moment, much more easier to do that. No one is asking me why that industry, why that person, why that collaborationship. They just go, wow, I never thought about that. How did you come up with that idea? What can I learn? How could you help me to do the same in my areas, my businesses, my life?
Focusing on the impact of how we can get there together in a more
Yes.
creative, collaborative, cooperative manner that makes it fun again.
Exactly. And that's a key word, the fun. We want to have fun more. There was just, the song and the movie in the 80s, the girls just want to have fun.
Yeah.
And the song by Cyndi Lauper, oh my God, that is one of the funniest and the most energetic things that what I found around the world in women. They want to have fun, they want to enjoy who they are, and they want to grow, they want to help others, and they want to collaborate. And that didn't exist before. But this is what I found now in these past couple of years, when I've been traveling and living in different societies, different cultures, different continents, different networks. That's what people want to do. And the guys, they're like, oh, is that another way of doing this whole thing? That's much more easier. And then they want to join and jump on the same boat. And I love that.
It's interesting, though, when you say these things, because I'm almost wondering, you and I both talked about things for hours on end, and how that everything is neither created or destroyed. Everything was here in one form or the other. So that could have been always here for someone that was aligned with that. And that was like, isn't it interesting that the days when you're going deeper and understanding your own self, that what starts getting to attracted to you and what you start to experience more and witness more of is this collaborative group of women and these, 5 separate things that were important to them being there, right? Because they became more important to you. You became more clear on who you are, what you're looking on building. And so it is.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so good.
And one thing, over there, just what you said, is that once you are true, and the key word is again here, true to yourself, is you see much more clear all the possibilities, all the relationships, all the things that you want to achieve or have in your life. You may, as Liz said, they may have been there, but you didn't recognize them because you were so focused on something else. Or you didn't look at the world that, okay, there are flowers, there are trees, there are cars, there are people, there are bikes and buses and planes and everything. But you were just focused on one or two things because you were used to that. Or
Right.
somebody told you to do that. You never thought that, okay, what would be my way of doing this? Or what would be my path? What would be my road?
It really speaks to the power of perspective and awareness. And I have
Yes.
a question for you that maybe there's someone here, man or woman, listening right now who feels that they're tired, but yet they're capable and they're successful, but they're quietly disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's almost that we get to this certain level where we've done better than we thought we would. And then we're just thinking, I don't know, at least for me, it was almost the thought that once I get there, then I don't know, the clouds would part, the sun would shine down, and it would be like, you've arrived. And yet there's no difference in it. And if anything, we start to feel uneasy because, to your earlier point, there might not be a goal or a vision more than what we know. So we quietly disconnect. What do you want that person to know before they make their next move?
For me, when I've felt that I have been disconnected about myself or from myself and the world around me or my friends, families, my work, whatever it has been, I've learned in these past few years through my mentors and the relationships, through the help that I've sought, and that pause, take a break, sit down, and just be still. Start with 30 seconds, and then you can increase that to 5 minutes or 15 minutes, or whatever time works. But pause. That has been one of the biggest lessons I've learned over and over again. And have the thoughts coming into your head and notice what you notice. And then just let them go. Don't get stuck on those thoughts, but let them go. Let them like wander through your head and still be pausing. Because what we as leaders, as parents, tend to do, we move forward all the time. We do not pause. We do not have that few minutes time even to think, how do I want to behave in this situation? What are my thoughts? What are my feelings? Why do I have this? And what do I actually really want? Who I actually really want to be? And if you have those couple of moments, then something starts coming up, emerging in your mind. And that may help. Another thing has been for me, going to the nature, taking a little walk. If you are in a city surroundings, and you may not have so many trees or parks around there, like I don't have in this area where I live in, currently here in Helsinki. There's little piece of woods. I wander through that or around it. And I try to get even myself out for 10 minutes. Just go around the block. That is, as little what you can do, but it helps a lot. It changes the perspective. It gives new thoughts, and it gets more clarity for you to where do you want to go. And another thing has been that whenever it has been very hard for whatever reason, life happens and shit hits the fan for all of us, no matter of the bank account numbers or no matter of the status, no matter of any of that, keep your relationships, whatever they are, whether they are family, friends, whoever, but have a few, and I would say anything from 1 to 5 people around, and build those relationships like a mastermind group or close friends, a trusted circle that who you can talk to, who do not judge you, but they can say the direct things, and you are not offended by each other's when you hear the bad stuff or the good stuff. but they will also push you forward when you feel down or when you are crawling on the floor. They push you forward. Okay, take another step, crawl another path, And if you don't have that now in your life, then search the internet, find LinkedIn or Facebook groups or whatever you wish, whatever is easiest for you, and start going out, build the online relationships so that you have somebody there who you can talk to about even one thing. It doesn't have to be your whole life. It can be from your work, or it can be from your studies, whatever that is, or your family. Start somewhere, and that helps.
So good. And that leads into a question is what is the community that you're building today? And if people don't have Hanne in their lives, can you share about the exciting things that are going on with you and your current business?
I was just going to say before I said the business there that I have multiple networks.
Yes.
And that's what I've done intentionally in different cities, in different countries, because that's part of my life vision and that's how I want to live. So I've been building these different friendships and networks in all the cities, all of the towns, the areas where I live. And that's what I've also taught to my daughter, that it's good to have adults and friends of her age in different countries, in different cities, because that's how, even though that you would see them once a year, that's going to help you forward at some point of life. And from those relationships, you can build forward whenever needed, whether that's a car dealer or whether that's a hairdresser or whether that's a tailor or whatever that may be, a travel agency. And that's what I did intentionally. It requires that one, no matter whether it's business or personal. And because I've been building that intentionally, all those networks, all those relationships, it has taken me blood, sweat, and tears and money. But once you do that on a repetitive, constant basis, you start to see the people who are good for you, who help you to go forward. It's not always tractional, but it's more like the value base, the joy, what you have. And that has led also to my current business. I've done multiple businesses and with different kind of people in different kind of industries, and I've loved them all. It's not about that one, but they all have led to me here. And through those networks, my current business partner also remembered me and called me a couple of years ago that, what about now? What's going on in your life? And do you want to build this kind of business and create it with me? And that's how we started. And what do we do now together in Lajua home base? We do connected living for seasoned women around the world. And the network that we started to build together, and what my business partner has started a bit earlier, began from the values and the principles and the vision of life. What do we want from our lives? Who do we want to be and become? And when we started to talk about those kind of things, just like I did this in my life, I'm looking these kind of things in my life and to my life, and we just shared a few lines into the somewhere of the social media universe, and also in the physical situations wherever we both have been. We've shared those, who we are, what we're looking for, straight and forward, but with kindness. And also with the curiosity towards the other person who's there in front of us, whether men or women. And that's how we've been able to build organically and value-based, mission-based network and community.
So if people want to find out more about that community, and know what it's about and that they could live and create and collaborate with it's women primarily, right, at this time, where would they go? Where's the website? How do they get a hold of you, Hanne?
Well, you can hold of me through Stacey, but you can also...
I'll make sure it's in the show notes.
Yes.
And you know what? It's time for you to actually share what your actual last name is. I'll spell it.
Yes. So hello, everybody. My name is Hanne Nuutinen. I live in Finland, France, and Ghana, and I do connected living for seasoned women around the world. And you find us from the webpage called lajoiehomebase.com. And that is the French word for joy and the English word for home and a base because we want to live in a nice, comfortable, safe place. So La Joie Home Base. And that's where you find me.
Let's end this off with a little bit of, I like to call them my ageless questions, but then sometimes I go in between those and one-line words, but this is more of a shotgun round. Some quick answers, no overthinking.
Hit me.
Hit you. Okay. Stability or freedom?
Freedom.
Rebuild alone or ask for help?
Ask for help, for God damn it.
Exactly.
And good gracious.
Closed mouths don't get fed. Open them up and ask. We both know we were both looked at David Meltzer. I'll always remember that quote from him.
Yes.
One word for your hardest year.
If it has to be one word, I say God.
Yeah. One word for this season.
Now you put me on the spot, on a tough one, because I have so many words. Can I say all of them?
You can say whatever you would like. You know what? This is all about breaking rules. You're like, Stacey, this is Xposed Living. We get unscripted and I break the rules.
Yes, because I'm a little rebellious. That's who I've always been.
This is why I love
kind
you
of break the rules, but in a good way.
That's right.
One of them is forward. Forward. Courageous. Empowerment. Build. Or rebuild, you can choose, and joy.
And that was the word I thought you were going to say instantly. Joy.
Joy. Because if we do not have joy in our lives, and that's a thing that I've always talked about whenever I speak somewhere, share and joy and enjoyment. If you don't do those in your daily life, you can forget the life.
What type of freedom is that, right? Two more. Truth or comfort?
Truth.
I think a lot of times we get stuck thinking that it's harder for me to share this, but when in the long run, if we get over it, share it truth. And I think this was part of your story, maybe that was that there came a time where we had to look ourselves directly in the mirror and say, I mean, there's one person at cause. Why am I consistently coming back to these places?
Yes.
And it's not comfortable, but it's necessary to create the life that we truly want, is having that truth without judgment. Like as far as shaming yourself, like you said.
Yes, without judgment. And also just, to share and look at the truth in the face and say, okay, it is what it is. But I can go forward. It doesn't have to define me for the rest of my life. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in the past couple of years, from that we can always go forward. Our past doesn't have to define who we are, and it doesn't. Once we are so true to ourselves. Whatever you've been going through, a prison or bankruptcy or divorce or death, whatever that may be, it doesn't define you. You define yourself. And I know it's very easy to say that, but to truly stand on that, for me, it has been requiring all those things what I shared in this, going through and being deep and having the joy, finding a joy for whatever that is.
What does living exposed mean to you? Is that it?
But I would say that living exposed is stand out there wherever you are, alone in your house or among the crowds, firmly, and be who you are. Be exposed. Don't be shy in the corner and open your mouth. It can be quiet or it can be sometimes closed, but be exposed, because if nobody sees you, it's more like you don't exist. And it's not what I would say. It's not the thing that that when you are not seen, you are forgotten, but you have to be exposed to yourself as well as to others. So I would say stand firmly and be exposed. Go out there and live your life. Don't stay in your couch or bed.
But you're just scrolling. Get up. I'm so grateful, Hanne, for you for joining us today, for bringing your honesty, your wisdom, and humanity into this space. Conversations like this matter because they remind us that reinvention isn't failure. It's leadership. Thank you, my friend.
Have a great day, everyone.
That's it for today's episode of Xposed Living, Be Ageless. But this is just the beginning. If this episode made you feel something, share it. Tag me. Send it to a friend. Let's start the conversation we can be having all along. No shame, no guilt. Unfiltered, raw, real, exposed. And if you're ready to go deeper, join us inside the Xposed Living Facebook community, where we take this work off the podcast and into real life. Know this, your change starts when your excuses die. Because this life, this one wild, ageless, unforgettable life is waiting on you. This is your time. This is your truth. This is Xposed Living.